What is acceptance and commitment therapy? Well, that's the question that we're going to answer today. My hope is that by the end of this video that you'll be able to describe ACT to someone you know and also have a better idea of how it works in therapy and in life. Now, I'm going to purposely skip the origin story of ACT. That's something that I'll cover in another video. In fact, I've kind of done some of that in previous videos. Here, we're going to look at what ACT is, a breakdown of the 6 core processes in ACT, and how ACT is used in therapy and in life. Now, if you're interested in where the information is coming from, references will be included in the description below. Acceptance and commitment therapy is a psychotherapy with the goal of psychological flexibility. In the ACT approach, a goal of healthy living isn't so much to feel good as it is to feel good. It is psychologically healthy to feel both bad and good feelings. Now, ACT accomplishes this in the following ways, and we'll use the acronym ACT. The first is to accept. The alternative to avoidance is acceptance. Acceptance comes from the Latin root word accepere, meaning to receive or take in what is offered. Psychologically, it connotes an active taking in of an event or a situation. Psychological acceptance at its lowest level is implicit in any psychotherapy because, at a minimum, the therapist and the client have to agree that there's even a problem to work on. Now, at a higher level, acceptance involves an abandonment of dysfunctional change agenda and an active process of feeling feelings as feelings, thinking thoughts as thoughts, remembering memories as memories, and so on. Cognitively, clients learn to think about their thinking. This is referred to as metacognition. And this leads to new learning as clients take in their problematic thoughts and accept them as a gift and then release them or let go of them. Second is choose. A client vacillates between 2 opposing forces in therapy, acceptance and change. So when they come to therapy, there's often an agenda to change their problematic thinking, feeling, and behavior. And when they hear they must accept, take in, and receive their experience, this change agenda may collide with acceptance. Now, ACT bridges this divide between acceptance and change by emphasizing the choice that clients always have available to them of willingness. Now, the 2-dial metaphor illustrates this well. Now, in a car, the radio often has 2 dials, one that controls the station and the second to control the volume. In terms of control, we only have 1 dial available to us. The second dial of our experience, whether that be of depression, anxiety, intrusive thoughts, compulsive behavior, we may be able to influence it, but we wouldn't say that we have total control of it, or else we wouldn't be seeing a therapist. An ACT therapist helps clients to choose willingness, which creates a bridge to the change that they're seeking. Now, third is take action. Acceptance and willingness opens up a client to take action and change. In ACT, values serve as a compass for clients to find direction for committed action. ACT emphasizes values rather than goals, as values provide intrinsic, endless motivation for clients. ACT uses committed action to describe the process of valued living. Committed refers to a client's willingness to act in ways they value, despite their inner experiences. Nike's slogan, "Just Do It," echoes this. However, this isn't as easy or simple as the slogan indicates. Sometimes the client may take committed action and things don't work out well. It may have the effect of worsening their inner experiences. For example, going to work may lead to unbearable migraines, and taking committed action to go to work may not lead to changes in experiencing migraines. Workability is the cornerstone of ACT. Is this working for me? In most cases, staying home to avoid migraines may work in the short term. However, unworkability tends to show up when we use these avoidance strategies, and they lead to layoffs, isolation, and migraines. The unworkability convinces clients to seek help in therapy. So this dance between accept or change is a difficult rhythm to move to. ACT has 6 core processes to help clients learn this dance and enjoy life again by living their values. Now, before we look at these processes, acceptance and commitment therapy isn't sequential or manualized, so treatment is tailored to the client's situation. This may mean starting at any of these 6 processes and moving around, depending on the client's progress. Each of these 6 processes target problematic issues for clients. As I describe each one, I'm also going to discuss the problem it addresses. ACT can be complex, so I find nuance and metaphors helpful in understanding these 6 processes. The first is acceptance. Now, we've already talked about what acceptance is and how it fits within ACT. It targets the problem of avoidance and unwillingness to have experiences. This is often where clinicians begin with a client. I like to use the metaphor called digging a hole, which has an adult version and also a child version. Now, you can find this script on the website contextualscience.org or several of the ACT resources I reviewed in my ACT and RFT wish list video. The digging metaphor does 2 things. It helps clients visualize the unworkability of trying to dig yourself out of a deep hole using a shovel. The more they try, the deeper the hole gets. And so many clients may give up and just sit in darkness without much hope, while other clients may be frantically trying to get out using any strategy that promises change. And so they look to the therapist to deliver them their golden shovel that will finally work to get them out of this hole that they're in. But the problem is this too is a shovel. It's just a better version of a shovel. Now, this metaphor helps the client to come into contact with their unworkability of their control strategies and to come into contact with hopelessness. Now, ACT calls this situation creative hopelessness, which is the start of trying something new called acceptance and willingness. Next is cognitive diffusion. Now, this term is unique to ACT, but it's also found in CBT, where a therapist may help a client to change problematic thinking through a variety of logical methods like thought replacement or challenging the truthfulness of a thought. ACT doesn't directly change problematic thoughts, though. Instead, it diffuses clients' relationship with thoughts. Now, this sounds complex, but it's quite simple using an illustration of a blank piece of paper. A therapist may ask a client to write down their problematic thought on a blank piece of paper and ask how it feels as they look at it. Then they may ask the client to hold the paper 6 inches in front of their face and ask what that experience is like, and proceed to have the client place their paper in their lap and look at the therapist and report the experience. And perhaps have them even fold up the piece of paper and put it in their pocket. Their homework would then be to carry this thought with them in their pocket for the week until they are back in the office again and then report their experience. Cognitive diffusion treats the problem of fusion with thought. Fusion is like holding the paper to your face. It's all you see, and you're looking at things from that thought. By writing the thought down, it becomes external to the person rather than in their head, and a new relationship develops with that thought as they hold it and carry it with them throughout the week. Now, this is just one example of cognitive fusion. Clients learn this skill throughout therapy by using techniques to disrupt problematic thinking and changing their relationship with thoughts. This can be done by singing your thought to the tune of Happy Birthday, or repeating the word milk 30 times or more until the word milk blends into a mixture of interesting and funny sounds. Learning to laugh at one's thoughts can be helpful for some and unhelpful for others. So again, therapy is tailored to the individual. Next is self as context. ACT uses mindfulness in 2 of its 6 core processes, self as context and present moment awareness. Now in the Midwest, well, at least in Wisconsin and Indiana, many clients had no basis for mindfulness. Depending on where you are and where you're coming from, you may have no idea about mindfulness or conflicting ideas about mindfulness, or you may have a good idea about mindfulness. But this basic understanding of mindfulness is something that ACT takes for granted, that clients would even know about it or wish to engage in mindfulness, depending on their religious reasons, or they just may think it's weird. Therefore, I like to start with some psychoeducation around mindfulness, what it is, and kind of break down some of those misconceptions that people may have. So I may start with an exercise using a cup of water, where I take a client through stages of experience with this cup of water. Now we start with it in their hand, noticing the contact between their hands and the cup. Then the client would be instructed to raise their cup to their lips and make contact without drinking it. They would then be prompted to smell the water and feel the sensations in their mouth as they anticipate how the water may feel when they drink it. Then they would drink the water without swallowing, and finally drink it. The client would then report their experience, and this leads to a discussion of self as context and pointing our attention to different places of our experience. Now, this is a good start to understand the depths of self as context, but there is a robust library of metaphors that help clients to see themselves as the observer of their experience. Now, some of these are the chessboard metaphor, the weather metaphor, and container metaphor. Clients learn that they are the sky that holds the weather, not the storms that rage and so on. This leads to defining the three parts of the self: self as context, self as content, and self as process. Like self as context, present moment awareness utilizes mindfulness. This treats a couple of clinical problems: mindlessness and time traps. Mindfulness and mindlessness are not good and bad, but useful in different contexts. I may want to zoom in and be present with my kids during family game night, and I may want to zoom out and watch Netflix with my wife before bed. In one case, I may want to fully be there. In the other case, I may want to escape and relax. Clients may need help staying with the moment rather than escaping when it comes to the cost of their values. So we do discuss mindfulness versus mindlessness. Time traps is a term that I made up that basically means being trapped in the past perspective or in the future perspective. The clients with depressive symptoms or strong anger tend to be trapped in the past, ruminating over something that happened in the past or reliving a hurt you're re-experiencing in the present. Anxiety and worry tend to be future-oriented, and this traps people in the state of fear and uncertainty in the present. Mindfulness uses the I, here, now perspective, while mindlessness uses the you, there, then perspective. What gets lost here is the you in the present and is trapped in the past or the future perspective. Next is values. Values are life directions and offer a client clarity in uncertain times. These values are unearthed through acceptance and commitment therapy, and often spontaneously through talk therapy. It is not uncommon that a client reveals that they don't know what their values are. In this case, a therapist will engage in talk therapy and discuss important themes in their life, hurts they've experienced, and achievements they've obtained or wish to. It's easy to get trapped in the past and future or be fused with thoughts when discussing values. And inevitably, a therapist will need to go back to the core process of cognitive fusion to help a client have psychological flexibility. Values are the gold nuggets that therapists and clients are mining for in therapy. And sometimes values are buried under an immense amount of pain. And it should be noted here that pain is an indication that something is important to the client. Values and pain can be seen as two sides of a coin, which can make value discovery rather straightforward when discussing the questions, what is it that pains you? Or what makes life worth living? Finally, committed action. Values work leads to committed action. But again, these core processes are not sequential or one after another. Every client has varying awareness of their values. In fact, clients may know their values already and experience paralysis to take action. One client comes to mind who came to my office with chronic pain. She had back pain from a car accident, and she was in a lot of pain and required laying down for long periods of the day because of a pinched nerve. This inaction was an opposition of what she valued before this car accident. She valued exercise, helping others, work, and outdoors, but her condition left her unable to move toward the life that she valued. Now, this situation from this client is something I'll term a paradoxical knot, where a client's actions are in direct opposition to their values. And so this is where an ACT-friendly therapist can help guide this discussion toward values and how your values change due to your situations. Now, a simple method for guiding discussions on values to take committed action is using Russ Harris's choice point diagram with two arrows that look like a V. Now, a question is posed, are you moving toward your values here or away? Now, this is a great tool where clients are trapped by a situation or a paradoxical knot, as in the case of chronic pain. Once a client discerns what is a toward move and away move, they can choose to take action toward the life that they value in the presence of a challenging situation. To untie the knot, we must first accept and let go of the control strategies we've used up until now. And then life opens up and new choices become available to us. The 6 core processes are great and all, but they're not necessary to making ACT work in therapy and in life. Rarely do I explain the core processes to a client. Rather, it's something that I utilize as needed to help a client become psychologically flexible, which is the core outcome of ACT. This is where metaphors, techniques, and exercises really drive the work in ACT. I could explain all the 6 core processes in depth and with all sorts of references to books that I've read, research that's been done in peer-reviewed journals, but until I make it real in the client's life, information only goes so deep. There's a saying that the distance between information and change is 12 inches between the head and the heart. In other words, experience is our greatest teacher. Metaphors and ACT are not just mental gymnastics. They are pathways to transformation in our thinking. We think in metaphors. We learn about foreign ideas through metaphors. And more, we explain our experiences using metaphors. ACT understands the function of metaphors for human learning and has created several dozen metaphors to teach ACT concepts. Techniques are also terrific avenues to experiential learning. Teachers and preachers use object lessons to convey big ideas using techniques. For example, as a youth pastor, I taught the power of pure influence using a chair. I had one student on top of the chair, standing, holding the hand of a friend who was standing on the floor. Then I had them try to pull them up, which is really difficult, but possible. Then I had the friend try to pull them down, which was fairly easy. This illustrated influence in an experiential way and led to new learning about the power of negative influence. ACT may use techniques to reinforce learning or when clients appear stuck or maybe aren't getting it. ACT therapists can get creative in their techniques, which is where the benefit is in being a part of an ACT peer group, such as ACT Made Simple on Facebook, which Russ Harris founded. Exercises are also a useful tool to take learning from the therapy room to life out there, or from the workbook to life in the wild. Exercises are usually scripted and designed to take less than 10 minutes. This can be guided by the therapist or used for self-therapy, such as a guided recording or reading in a workbook. In fact, I've recorded myself reading a script on my phone to play for private exercises. Now, we've unpacked a lot in this video as we've answered the question, what is acceptance and commitment therapy? Hopefully you can now better articulate what ACT is, the 6 core processes, and how ACT works in therapy and in life. I've absolutely enjoyed making these videos over the last few months and would love to know what content is connecting with you and what you'd like to hear more about. If you're comfortable, please leave a comment on the video and provide feedback, questions, and requests. Remember, your journey towards a more purposeful and mindful life begins with a single click.